Hello, like many of you, I've been fascinated and horrified by the amazing TV series Squid Game. Fascinated also by the details and the secrets and the mirroring that happens throughout the series, and also fascinated by the questions that it brings into my heart. More or less every single game brings up some details and also some questions, and I wanted to talk those over with you and see what that brings up in your heart, what it brings up in mine. Our first game is Red Light, Green Light, and I know that's not the original title in Korean, and I know I'm going to butcher some of the names, so I'll just apologize ahead of time. The doll turns itself around, turns its back on the players, and only then are they able to move, to get ahead. Only once people's backs have been turned to them. But it's not the first time we see a flipping around. In fact, the recruiter's game involves flipping the cards over or not, and if you can't do that, you get punished. In the same way that if you move while the doll's head is turned to face you, you get shot. But that's not the first time that we see a turning back on someone. To be honest, I was kind of turning my back on player 456, Gi-hun, and I mean from the beginning, he starts off, he has forgotten his only daughter's birthday. He's stealing from his mother. He has a gambling addiction he's choosing not to confront, or it seems like he's choosing not to confront. He's in debt and, doing the lowest things and signing the lowest forms to get out of it or to get by with it. He doesn't know what he's giving his daughter. He ends up trying to give her a lighter in the shape of a gun. So he's not a great figure, and I wasn't rooting for him, at least at the beginning. And I was kind of turning my back on him. And everyone else in the game is someone who society has turned their back on either. The failed stockbroker, the foreign immigrant who may or may not have a passport, drug addicts, people coming out of jail, people from a different country. Everyone is someone who society has turned their back on, and they're struggling to get ahead and often getting shot while doing it. And so the first game mirrors what happens so often in life. And it's only as the series goes on, spoiler alert for this and for many things, that I began to realize, wait a minute, Gi-hun is someone who was beaten up by his father for something he couldn't change about himself. He was lactose intolerant. He was either forced to eat something that he couldn't really digest, or he was beaten by a system he couldn't control or couldn't change. He gets a job and he's fired without any cause. And when they try to protest or fight back against the system, again, they don't just get spanked by a father, they get beaten up by the police, and his best friend is killed in that strike. And nothing happens to the police. It's not their fault. Society turns their backs on him. And that moment, his wife is giving birth, and he's not there because he's trying to help out a friend. Then again, in that moment, she's leaving him, and based on the age of the son she has with her new husband, you can tell it wasn't long after he lost his best friend that she's already marrying someone else. So he's somebody who's had the doors closed on him, had backs turned to him so many times throughout his life. And perhaps his redeeming quality is he doesn't turn his back on others. And it's there that I started to begin to root for him. But I felt guilty that I had judged someone and kind of assumed that Gi-hun should be left to one side. I felt guilty that I had seen him make a mistake and judged him and felt him unworthy. If you want, it's like the elimination that the game does. We do that to people all too often. In the same way, the show ends with a bet, a game, whether people will turn their back on the drunk on the street, or whether people will just keep walking by, or will one of them, just one of them, pay attention. Makes us ask ourselves, makes me ask myself, how many people do I just ignore? The homeless person on the street, the person who's in need of help. Do I just walk on by? It's not my problem. I can't afford to get into that. Or do I say, this is someone, this is a person Someone just like me. Maybe if I'd gone through what they'd gone through, I'd be in the same boat. Or do I reach out? We live in a world where, yeah, we ignore people on the street, but we also ignore them if they're not of our type. If they don't belong to our group, our preferences, our political alliances, we often turn our backs on them or block them or shut them out. So, in the same way that Squid Game ends with again a flipping around, Gi-hun has the opportunity to walk on by. This is not his game, it's not his problem anymore. He can just go and have a happy life, try to find his daughter, and leave everything and say, I don't have to take care of it. But he chooses to flip around, come back and face the problem, come and change sides and see if he can make a difference. He who has had people's backs turned to him so many times doesn't turn his back on the suffering of others. So let this show challenge us. Let it see what we can do so that we can turn around and confront what we have to confront and challenge and not just leave people left behind or ignored or not just walk on by, but to meet people where they're at, to have the courage to turn around and talk with them. God bless.